with us this morning. The next panel discussion is on building next-gen banking experience with emerging technologies. And to moderate the session, we have Prasanna Lohar, who's the Director, Association of Emerging Technologies India and CEO, Blockstack. May I request Prasanna to please come on the dais, please. Prasanna will be speaking to an esteemed panel comprising of Anil, Kuril, who's the Chief Technology Officer for Union Bank of India. Anil, please. He will be joined by Wriju Ray, who's the Chief Business Officer of IDfy, Baldor Technologies. Welcome, Wriju. Amit Saxena, Chief Technology Officer, RBI Innovation Hub. Welcome, Amit. And Hitesh Sachdev, Head Startup Engagement and Investments, ICICI Bank. Welcome, Hitesh. I now have asked Prasanna to take it from here, please.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, wonderful. So, very good morning, everybody. We have an eminent panel, experts from bank, experts from RBI Innovation Hub, startups. So the topic is quite relevant, right? The building next-gen experience with emerging technologies. And the way we have seen banking, which was happening last 20 years and before 20 years, and the last 10 years, every 10 years we have seen multifold innovations coming in. And if you look at last 10 years, it was quite innovative banking we have seen, at least in India and outside of India also. Effort from regulators, governments, and since last 6-7 years, efforts are being from fintech industry, as well as banks also now embarking on their journey to adopt emerging technologies. And in last 5-6 years, if you see large banks and some of the tech-heavy banks are on the stack of API banking, fintechs, some of those experience on cloud. We have Union Bank come up with a metaverse experience, right? We have ICICI Bank who has done fintech banking, API banking, world-class API banking portals. And we have Amit from RBI Innovation Hub, where their role is quite crucial considering the consolidated efforts around innovations across the aim of India, like inclusion, innovation, and the impact. And we have a startup, Wriju from IDfy, looking forward to bring on better KYC experiences for our customers. If you see the banking which has happened from a traditional banking where we have had a brick and mortar or a model or contact center things, and followed by we are in the era of digital banking where we have a mobile banking apps or internet banking, which is becoming now traditional banking. And now all of a sudden we are talking about next-gen technologies like AI, blockchain, or big data, and predominantly these technologies will take banking in an intelligent era. And down the line, millennials are looking at various other technologies like metaverse or 5G or wearables. So that will be an autonomous banking where we may not have branch models. So, but this is all happening with all research and so much efforts of banks and along with the regulators and in collaboration with the tech companies. So it's very, very important to adopt technologies, and the way we have seen why banks are really adopting technologies, maybe for a better customer experience, to reduce the cost, operational cost, or largely to bring a new business models. So we have Anil Kuril, CTO Union Bank. So sir, what's your view around why do we need technology aspect, and why all of a sudden last 2-3 years almost all banks are looking at a technology as a platform, or a technology as a radical change agent in the journey of all the banks? Yeah.
So thank you, Prasanna, and good morning to each one of you who are present here, and I welcome all the panelists here. When we are talking about the technology, I think technology is there since inception of a mankind. Whenever we started even the civilization has started, when technology came. Technology means when the wheel came first time, then your civilization has started. Now the technology, when today we talked about, obviously we are talking about the IT technology or information technology, which has revolutionized everything, changed everything. Now the change which has happened during last 2 years after pandemic or during the pandemic, we are seeing that IT has become a pervasive at every place, we as a customer, we as a entrepreneur, we as an enterprise also. In fact, I was going through one of the survey. We say that as a customer, as an individual, our behavior has dramatically changed during last 2-3 years. Whenever we are trying to buy something, we are going to the Google or similar kind of a search. We are trying to identify those products. We are trying to identify who all are providing those things. Then we are comparing it, and then only we are buying it. Which means that as a customer, my behavior has got changed. I'm no longer relying on the people who are actually earlier I was going there. As a customer, I'm trying to rationalize the things which is the best for me, and I should be buying. Now, all this has happened on account of pandemic and the technology which has pitched in to provide the ease of life. As a customer, what you need experience, you need a ease of doing the things, you need a product which are meeting your requirement. Earlier days, where the product are there, you have to take it or leave it. Now it's no more there. So in terms of our behavior has completely changed. Now banking, is it a different? No. Because finally we as a banker, we need to provide the services to the customer, and customer of whatever they want, and there the technology is coming. So whether you are talking about the behavioral aspect of a customer or we as a banker, technology is there, we have to implement that in order to provide you services. Now during last 2-3 years, we as a bank has completely changed, or in fact every bank has changed, every bank has tried to bring newer technology so that we provide those kind of agility which a customer are needing it. So whether it's adoption of a cloud, whether it's adoption of a newer technology, whether a video KYC and all. So those things have actually brought the revolution in the entire banking space. And as a customer, you are getting those things from the banks and whichever segment you are talking about. So we as a banker or as a common user also, that is how the entire thing has changed. And we are not immune to those kind of changes, and that's why as a bank, we are putting all those technology which makes your life easy and makes our life also easy for this. Thank you.
So wonderful. So I think every bank or every regulated entity has its own orbit, right? Private sector bank or a public sector bank, cooperative banks, and they always look at how they can move from one orbit to another orbit with the help of people in the organization or adoption curve on technologies. While doing this, there has to be some regulated enforce, right? I think yesterday we heard Honorable RBI Governor, he spoke a lot about what's really happening, and we feel that we are blessed with such a nice regulator and India, and we look at how India will set a lot of examples, the way we have already set examples like UPI or Aadhaar. So we have Amit, who has run bank for 5 years as a CTO at the largest bank, State Bank of India, and now he's at center stage leading CTO at RBI Innovation Hub. So Amit, the way, what is the role of RBI Innovation Hub to bring the way every bank is their adoption curve or adoption of technologies, and at the same time you are at a larger vision, what is that India is looking at as far as the use cases are concerned or fintech adoption is concerned?
Yeah. Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much for having me over here. And how we look at it, see, technology is an enabler for business outcome. It's not a panacea which would solve every problem what we have in our BFSI ecosystem, or how we look at it. So obviously the technology adoption would increase, and which we have seen a paradigm shift, the way banks have started embracing technology. Reserve Bank Innovation Hub works toward bringing in collaboration among banks, wherein we should be able to bring banks and the fintech together, wherein all the fintech solutions should be presented to banks in a manner. At the same time, we are also working to see that there is a synergy built in the ecosystem. Not every bank should be trying to put in their energy to look at the same solution, because it's taking up energy both from fintechs as well as banks itself, wherein we want all the banks to collaborate together. We are working with them to see that kind of a collaboration is built into the ecosystem. And as we move forward, you would start seeing that kind of innovation happening. Now, Anilji is over here, and Union Bank have launched KCC yesterday along with Federal Bank. Mr. Governor have talked about it. That's a collaboration approach, what we are talking of. Same solution, two different banks, and both of them have launched. And along with that, the state governments. So the Tamil Nadu government have launched it. Madhya Pradesh would be doing it, and one of the northeast states would also be doing it. At the same time, we also are very passionate about women entrepreneurs to be given a stage in our country itself. And we run a Swanari program wherein we only selected, or we won't say selected, we would say we got the best of the fintechs which are led by women entrepreneurs. That's a program which is a separate thought process altogether, right? Because if you know, Prasanna and all the panelists over here, 80% of the women in our country does not have access to any kind of loans itself. They are dependent on to, on the better half itself. We want to change that. We work on a last mile solution, wherein we want to take fintech solutions led by women entrepreneurs who should be able, to kind of give their loans. We have got some of the new programs which would be coming up on that region. At the same time, the new age technology, what Prasanna you have put across, that what we should look at, AI, VR, ML, right? So they have been talked through a lot itself, right? But at the same time, we would see clear adoption of those technologies by banks itself. Like Union Bank have done a great initiative on metaverse itself. ICICI Bank is working on to some of it. But at the same time, see, metaverse is not going to work with one bank alone itself. It has to be adopted at an ecosystem level. Otherwise, you provided a virtual experience by one bank, the other bank who is not well connected, then you don't get the benefit out of it. Wriju would talk about how the fintechs are going to gear themselves up. One point which yesterday FMM have also said, and the governor sir also said, is about the compliance and regulatory requirement of BFSI industry. And we use such forums to pass on this message to all the budding fintechs, and you don't get, overwhelmed by the questions which bank put across to you. Because banks deal in one of the most important commodity in this world, which is called money, right? So obviously they have got a compliance requirement, right? And the better and quicker you learn about the compliance requirement and the risk assessment of your solution, your adoption rate would increase very well. And among different banks, don't try comparing one bank to another bank. Different banks have got a different risk appetite. It works like that, right? So if one banks need 3 steps to have a compliance requirement, a larger bank would have got a different risk appetite, right? Because they have got a different customer base. So over there, you have to work to see that your solutions are having a compliance and risk assessment done properly. Thank you very much, Prasanna.
Yeah, I think wonderful, and you touched upon the last angle, compliance and regulation, and the governor sir also spoke highly around that, considering lot of guidelines are coming, and this lot of guidelines are coming is good for a larger vision of Indian fintechs, right? So that's how I look at it, and furthermore, this regulation will really help to bring right innovations for considering data integrity, security, and many other aspects. While technology is there, we need to see how technology get adopted for a right use cases. So I think moving on, Hitesh, I think Hitesh is someone who has been part of a technology, is part of a fintech alignment at ICICI Bank and investments. Such a large experience, bank chain which was started, one of the experience to bring all banks coming together, and the formation of IBIC, which is the Indian banking blockchain infrastructure company. So Hitesh, you have seen larger role of a blockchain or AI, or you are interacting with a lot of fintechs who are driven by tech. So how you look at API banking of ICICI Bank is helping to adopt a right technology for ICICI Bank. And I think there are a lot of things happens within ICICI Bank also to bring the culture, right? So how it is really helping overall for bank? Yeah.
Thanks, Prasanna. So any bank which wants to grow, I think there are two methods, right? One is keep growing organically in terms of build your own digital channels, build your branch network, and keep acquiring customers, through some of these channels. The other second method is that you create partnerships, and in those partnerships you create a win-win situation wherein both the partners bring something on table which is being valued by the customer, and ultimately both the partners also gain by offering those services to the customer. So the second model where if you want to partner with anybody, whether it is a fintech or a tech giant, the core is that commercials and other negotiations don't take much time, but when it comes to the technical integration, it's the most cumbersome process. And most of the partnerships, fail because of that. And also, the attitude in terms of today, if somebody is, doing a transaction on platforms like, let's say, Amazon, would he leave the Amazon and come to a bank's platform for doing a banking transaction? Or you offer banking on the Amazon's platform where in a single journey, everything gets completed there and there itself, and the customer experience is superlative. So if you want to do that, I think API is the only way. If you want to create more and more partnerships and tap that route for growing your balance sheet, growing your business, there is no other way except to build robust APIs. And it's a journey itself, right? I mean, in our early days when we started with APIs, we thought about our partners who would use our APIs, how do we make it easier for them to use our APIs. When we built our developer portal, one thing we did was we documented those APIs very well so that every time, there is no confusion. We laid out the standardized, formats for APIs and published it. We also created a lot of dev tools for people to use those APIs, consume those APIs easily. And apart from that, we did some sample product journeys, demonstrated on the API portal itself that how you can use these APIs and how you can create differentiated products using these APIs, right? So, and that has helped us. And over a period of time, we have constantly improved on a lot of those, things. Our idea is if you want to really build an open innovation platform, I think your developer portal or your API banking has to be at a level where it doesn't require any intervention from the bank. It should be plug and play, more of a plug and play model for any of your partners. So that's one approach we kind of followed, and I think it's working well for us. Second aspect, I think you talked about culture.
Yeah.
So I think most of the time when you ask people, what is the constraint? So either, budgets are the constraint. Do you have financial constraints? Technology is a constraint. And most of the time, you will get an answer that budget is not a constraint, technology is not a constraint. Constraint is, people's resistance to change, right? And that keeps holding on so many of the innovation, and that's where, as a bank, we thought that if we want our customers to be digital and for them to be digitally savvy and adopt digital, first we should start with our employees, right? All of our employees should be digitally savvy, and that's where we started a campaign within the bank. Like we all go to gym, we do yoga for physical fitness. We have launched a campaign for digital fitness. Are you digitally fit? And if you're a digital fit person, then you will be able to communicate better with your customers, help them to adopt, digital channels, digital initiatives, which, bank is rolling out every day. So under that, we have, created series of learning modules, and it's very intuitive. Yeah, and most of the employees within the bank are liking it. So I think bringing that culture change is the most important thing. And I would say that it is always like nothing works, if it is mandated, kind of. It has to be done in a manner that it creates a democratized way of wholehearted participation, right? So I think that's working for us.
Yeah, I think that's the story for every bank. Like if they want to adopt any new technologies, example, robotic process automation also, you need to take along that person who is doing that operational work and make them champions around that. I think it's a time of or a matter like every bank is doing lot of a digital dexterity or education kind of exercises in their respective organizations so that as a whole ecosystem they know how do you adopt new technologies. I think we heard from all these experts. Now we have Wriju, who is part of a tech company and chief business officer at IDfy. I think during 2019, SEBI has said, ki, okay for video KYC, followed by RBI also said, yeah, we'll do that. And during pandemic, I think when customer was not able to visit branches or your branch officer are not able to visit any of the customer for a KYC collection. While we have seen KYC journey from paper to e-KYC or India stack based UIDI based KYC, I think that has solved a lot of things. But during pandemic, we have seen how do you really justify the same customer? Like where video KYC was a recommendation from a regulator. I think a player like IDfy has really helped many banks. If you see the overall journey of KYC, right? Today we have CKYC, e-KYC, video KYC. What next to ease out the customer? Like how technology like AI, ML is helping to build on, or how blockchain kind of a technology will come, a decentralized KYC or a KYC available anywhere and it is available based upon customer consent. So how do you see the future of KYC while you can speak about what's really happening at IDfy's house to bring more innovation for a banking ecosystem? Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks, Prasanna. You and I have been at the forefront of this, and I think been quite a journey with the help of the regulator, obviously, to bring this to a new age of sorts. I actually feel that we're at the cusp of another sort of transformation that's kind of also begun. 4 things that I see that are happening. First is that it's become fairly paperless, and it's not really a case where people bring up documents for identity anymore. In a way, India is showing the way to the world. Documents have become digital. Digital documents have disappeared. They become databases. And so identity in general is about collecting information from databases. And it's about obtaining it in a way that you can correlate things and figure out discrepancies and gather information from these sources together to compile somebody's identity. It is not exactly about presenting information as a user so much anymore. That's a big seismic shift, I think, that's happened. The second shift that has happened is the importance of authentication. So we think about video KYC. What's really happening here is the user is presenting himself in a video and demonstrating he's there, right? And he's giving his consent also at the same time. Now, authentication has to be probably not just about opening accounts. It actually has to go beyond it. So if there are some transactions which are quite sensitive, things are of a very high size, authentication needs to be a way of life. It also has to be something that is seamless. It has to become, I think RBI talks about the UIDI 2.0, where they talk about how face match and liveness might become part of their suite now. Really, it's about updating ourselves from onboarding to embracing authentication across various areas where somebody might be defrauded because somebody has stolen your account, those kind of things. We have to get very wary about it. The third thing is about consent, and you mentioned that as well in your introduction. And on consent, and I think this is an important part of democratization, you may very quickly lose control as a user if people start collecting information from databases. Now, account aggregator is here, there's information in so many sources, like UIDI. If the user is not in control, if he's not giving consent to you, that's a very scary place to be. At the same time, it has to be informed consent. It's not like angutha de diya and ho gaya, right? So you have to have a situation where consent is informed, where you are auditable as well. So if you've given consent and then you've gone ahead and done something else, how do you audit that? So these are areas where we really have to make many strides forward. And the fourth area, which you're referring to, and again, Prasanna, you're showing the way to the world in a bit, is actually about the use of blockchain and about decentralized technologies. I am actually on the fence on this. The way I see this is that it's beautiful in a way how one can collect information through consent. But would the regulator understand in terms of would it be okay to have identity spread out in a manner that it becomes very difficult to audit? So there's a little bit of, I think, a curve of sorts where we have to get people comfortable, work in a collaborative manner, that we overcome issues of audit and issues of consent together, right? For it to become something that one may be able to adopt. In fact, I think, Prasanna, you probably want to say a few things here about blockchain and its role in identity. So what do you think about it?
I think, so this is what happens, right? So in middle of a discussion, it's quite exciting. I think blockchain is a foundation technology, like internet is a, so while we spoke a lot about internet and we have seen the internet has really evolved and given lot many use cases to the banking, not only banking, but many other ecosystem. I look at the blockchain and other peripheral technology like 5G or metaverse will bring on lot of path-breaking use cases. And it's really happening. And I think at least by now, regulator, by now banks, by now service providers, by now governments are investing heavily on blockchain and relevant other AI and other technologies. Blockchain is not an answer for every use case. It has to cohesively work with in a periphery of UI and in the back end and in between whatever process you want to automate. And depends upon a business case to business case. I think eventually we will also learn how do we adopt these changing technologies. It could be in payment, the way our Honorable Finance Minister announced central bank digital currency or digital rupee of India, how it can come. So blockchain could be one of those technology. While some countries not adopted blockchain, but eventually blockchain brings a lot of a trust and removes a lot of settlement and many other manual areas. So I think it has a long way to go. It's just a beginning and good to see that adoption is already started. So we'll not be surprised in 2030 we'll talk a lot of use cases, but not a blockchain. So certainly I think I'm seeing some gestures from our organizers. So I think we'll take just a last line. Hitesh, Anil sir, Amit, you just want to add any of your inputs, couple of inputs. How do you really look at technology adoption? Technology adoption for banks at every level, right? On the UI side, something like mobility or wearables. In the mid, we have API banking to talk in backend, AI, big data, and all the systems. So just in a brief, how do you see startup adoption, fintech adoption, and a last message from you all to adopt a better technology for a better banking? Yeah.
No, thanks, Prasanna. So again, I think there are two approaches for any bank or probably any institution, right? One is either to build inside the organization a lot of tech, and second is keep buying, right? I mean, and it's always a hybrid approach where you, and depending on the stage at which you are, whether you choose to build more or whether you choose to buy more. But I've always seen that it's a combination which always works. And for, building inside requires a different skill sets in terms of, are you a, technology company running a bank or you're a bank running a technology division, right? Most of the time that question needs to be answered. And on the, buying side, I think, you always have a lot of innovations which is happening in the startup ecosystem. How do you tap that? For that, as I mentioned, I think one is the culture change in terms of mindset of the banks that how do you work with startups? Because most of the time startups, the argument would be that they use open source, they might not exist, some of them might get closed down, some of them would get acquired. How do you work with them? So those are a couple of challenges which, banks have when they work with startups. But having said that, the kind of innovation, the agility which a startup brings on table, I think there is a definite case for, banks to work with them.
Yes.
And we as bank have been, working with startups for now a long time, and we have seen the results. And obviously it started with a lot of concerns, but we put our head on our heart and said all is well, all is well, and started the journey. And I think the results are fantastic. So I would urge that, please, kind of to all the, banks or organizations that, we need to create that framework of innovation where you keep doing pilots, POCs with the startups, and some of the use cases will, do wonders for you. And that's had been our experience.
Yeah, thanks. Anil sir, please.
Yeah, thank you. So when we are talking about the next-gen banking experience, there are two components. One is the experiential component, which is a customer-facing side of it. Second is a inside. If you are not building the right kind of architecture within the organization in terms of a technology, if you are not putting the right foundational technology, then probably that building is not going to remain for a long. So in order to create the strength within the organization, there are a couple of things which other panelists have talked about. Building a core technology, so whether adoption of a cloud, adoption of a API banking, these are some of the technology which probably as an organization you have to look it and adopt those things. Second is a culture. When we talk about the bigger organization, obviously we have a lot of issues in terms of a adoption of a technology, resistance to change. So those cultural aspects probably as an organization, each one of us has to look into, and we have to create an environment where technology is getting adopted, agility is bring into the operation part of it. Third part is when you are looking at the partner, obviously as a customer likes to have a most innovative experience. However, you as an organization, you have to look for that, what is the strength in those technology, whether they are good for your customer or not. If you are doing those kind of a evaluation ab initio, then probably you are at the right place with the right set of a customer. So these are some of the things, probably if you are taking care of those things, so you will be having a experience which customer wants, and you will be having an inner strength to sustain those things. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. So I think we spoke about, rather you spoke about every individual bank's journey and how banks are really adopting. And there comes Amit and says, let me come and, rather RBI Innovation comes and streamline that whole adoption of a fintechs and with a lot of processes. So Amit, you are last.
Right, let me say this disclaimer, which I forgot to say earlier, right? All views are personal, and they do not represent Reserve Bank of India Innovation Hub or the regulator. So prior to RBI, I was running the largest bank, and over there we used to say we are a technology company which provide banking as a service. Now, as the regulated entity, now we say we are a technology enabler providing banking ecosystem, kind of support what they need. That sums up how we look forward towards whole of this ecosystem. But at the same time, you would see that technology have become much more engraved in our day in, day out life itself, and you would see that this would keep on, kind of enabling our life. Now, I don't think so. Our day starts with WhatsApp and with WhatsApp only, right? In between Tinder and, all such things happen, right? And I'm still learning, right? So both my kids are teenage daughters, and I'm still trying to learn what's a new technology. They are my enabler to keep me upgraded with technology, and it's a marvelous journey. So what you would see that our country would be at a forefront with respect to technology adoption, which we are very keen about, and banks have started working in a collaborative manner. And as Wriju said about that technology enablement by fintechs, that's something which is which we have not seen in last couple of years happening anywhere across the world. India is at a cusp of that we would go a very long way when it comes for a technology adoption. Thank you very much.
Yeah, your last views, Wriju. Yeah.
I want to actually talk about a story that Amit spoke about, if I may. I want to start with how we need to go closer to the users and experience them. And you spoke about Tamil Nadu and Karnataka and how banking happens there on the ground in terms of the languages that people speak and how people often forget, right? That you need to visit a branch and experience how the common user, is facing troubles, right? It was, I think that if the session today is about next-gen banking experience, actually we have to start with that experience, and that starts with the fundamental of of seeing what the user wants and studying him and innovating with him and adopting. And I think a basic cultural construct here also is about embracing change. And Hitesh, you spoke about it as well. ICICI, when I was having a side chat with him, he mentioned how they have devolved responsibilities to so many divisions to actually take decisions. And I feel that it's about breaking new ground and disrupting things sometimes, taking those risks and allowing people to go ahead and do it, and not stopping them by control at the top. It's not like top down anymore. It has to be a lot more go ahead, break things, work with the end user, figure things out. Also, I think that there's an element of culture, which is definitely, you mentioned about cloud in UPI. I mean, it's fantastic that you're talking about cloud adoption and how far you've gone with metaverse. It's just the world has changed.
Yes,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean it in a, I'm saying in a very appreciative way. It's amazing how cloud technology, you are advocating it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that day has come. Yeah, so using SaaS, using cloud technologies, making sure there's a single source of truth, stopping spreadsheets everywhere, ensuring big teams of reporting, people writing reports go away, ensuring that you embrace these new technologies. That starts also from the top. So now I'm going away, feeling very privileged in this company here.
So I think the way we see banking today is not going to be same banking down the line 3 to 4 years. And all effort goes to the every individual bank, people in the bank, management in the bank, the kind of culture they are building within a bank. Then which are those processes are coming? Say example, we have a UPI or account aggregator. Down the line, we'll have an account aggregator or ONDC. It will change the way we do banking, not only for retail, for SMEs also. Post-process, we see technology adoption. You spoke about architecture, along with architecture, API banking. Which are those technologies? We have seen mobility, cloud, which is traditional, which is going to come, or rather, it has been already adopted like AI, blockchain, 5G, IoT. IoT will be tomorrow's customers. How do we really onboard that? So while we do this, we need to make sure that do we have those right set of partners, regulatory guidelines, is it around with the regulatory framework compliance where we have RBI, SEBI, IRDA in Indian context. And it all boils down to the customer forefront, right? Customer is ever changing, and customer keep on asking the expectation. They learn from other industry and come to this banking industry, ask for the same kind of experiences. And it's good to see that how ecosystem is really ready for a next gen banking. So thank you so much for listening us along with Amit, Anil, Hitesh and Wriju, myself Prasanna. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Prasanna.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, for that really engaging session. I think some really nice points coming out of the way. Anil spoke about the fact that the pandemic has changed the purchase behavior and how rationalization has actually manifested itself. Amit spoke about the fact that collaboration and synergy is built into the ecosystem and how RBI is focusing on women entrepreneurship, which is a key going forward. Hitesh spoke about how partnerships are important for growth and people resistance to change is a challenge, and how at ICICI they've been able to digitally create a program that's called Digitally Fit. Wriju articulated the fact that we are on the cusp of a transformation and having seen a seismic shift in the mechanisms of identification, and how informed consent and audit is an integral part of the next phase of innovation in this space. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Take care of yourselves and have a great day ahead.